Okay, everyone, we'll get started with Coach Lee with an opening statement. Go ahead, Coach Lee.
Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Hold on one second. Hit the little button there. Excited for the week ahead of us. Today's the first day for practice for us for this week. I've got two good days of weather this week, and then looks like Thursday could be an indoor day for us, but looking forward to Friday, opening weekend against a really good Cincinnati club. Just excited to get started.
Hey, Coach, it's David Hood. Just obviously the first question every year, have you decided on what your opening rotation is going to be for the weekend, and then maybe, starting midweek next week?
So for the weekend, we don't have a midweek next week. So we have all our guys available for this weekend. But we are going to go Davis Sharp in game 1. We are going to go Ty Olenchuk in game 2. And we are going to go Caden Grice in game 3 for this weekend. And then we'll have everybody available this weekend behind them in the bullpen.
What have you seen out of Olenchuk and Grice that allowed them to step into those weekend spots?
Well, it's a great question. I would say collectively over the course of the fall and the spring, combined numbers-wise, Grice arguably had the best numbers of any starter. So he certainly earned the opportunity to start on the weekends. Olenchuk, for us, is just a strike throwing machine at 91 to 94, has a above average fastball. Off speed pitches are developing and getting better. He's a big time competitor, and we felt like to put him on Saturday and Caden on Sunday, it also gives us the opportunity in week 1 to use guys like Matt Clark and Evan Estridge as long relievers behind those guys, and it sets up our bullpen really, really well. We can also use Carter Raffield behind those guys out of the pen. So we're looking at it really from the standpoint of it gives us an opportunity to piggyback some guys who have starting experience behind those 3, and to keep our relievers short in 1-inning spurts so that we have the opportunity possibly to use them multiple times over the course of the weekend. But Olenchuk is one of our best strike throwers, and Grice has earned it, just based on how he's pitched in the fall and in the spring inter squads. And Davis is our most polished, most game ready guy to go in game 1, and he's pitched on Fridays before, so we just felt like that calming presence of having a veteran who has that level of experience going in game 1 is the right call.
Hey, Coach, it's Trevor Groves from CUTigers.com. Will Hackenberg be out the entire weekend? And if so, will it be French or Engel behind the plate?
Yes, Hackenberg will be out for the entire weekend. We expect Adam to be out for, what could be a few weeks. We're not quite sure yet, but he will be out for the first weekend. And we will probably use both guys, French and Engel. I would say going into game 1 for Friday, it will be French behind the plate, but Engel certainly should be in the mix in some capacity. He could play left, or he could DH possibly, or catch. He's caught very, very well here lately. He's getting better and better behind the plate. He's also a very good offensive player. But I would say that Cincinnati is a left-handed pitching oriented team in terms of their starters. So we will go with French in game 1 behind the plate.
Coach, just looking at Cincinnati from last season and their limited schedule, looked like they were a pretty decent offensive team. But how difficult is it to scout a team with no games this year and just 15 games last season?
It's pretty difficult because it's just such a small sample size, especially on the position player side. You have limited at bats and limited looks. On the pitching side, it's a little bit easier just because we have the ability through video to watch their starters or any of their relievers that have returning experience. It's a little bit easier to scout their pitchers than it is hitters who might have been in their first year of starting for them.
Coach, it's Trevor again. Will Sam Hall be starting in center? And we all know how good he is, how great he is defensively. He's been kind of inconsistent. I know you just played 17 games last season, but at least he had a rough start to the season last year. Have you seen more consistency from him offensively?
Well, Sam Hall will be out for the first few weeks of the season as well due to injury, so he will not be available this weekend.
Can you elaborate on his injury at all, or?
No, he has an injury. He has an injury that's going to keep him out for what looks to be could be a few weeks.
Hey, Coach, Greg Rzaski from ABC4 down in Charleston. When you were going through the process of recruiting Jeffrey, what did you see in him that gave him the makeup, the abilities that you noticed early on to potentially close here in his Clemson career? And what has he shown you since being on campus in this progress to proceed to this position?
I'm sorry, did you say Jeffrey Gilbert? I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, Jeffrey.
Okay. Yeah, well, Jeffrey, number one, has always been a winner. Playing at Bishop England High School, one of the best high school programs in the state of South Carolina, one of the best coach teams in the state of South Carolina. You know that kids that come out of Bishop England's program are very well coached and have very high expectations for winning. So we knew that we were getting someone in Jeffrey in the program who was going to be able to help us right away from a competitive standpoint. He's a very competitive young man, very driven young man. The moment doesn't get too big for Jeffrey, and he throws strikes, and he's left-handed, and he's got an above-average fastball and a good breaking ball. And it's a pretty easy choice for us when it comes to who to pitch in the ninth inning. Gilbert, we feel like, just checks all the boxes for what you're looking for in a closer, and that's why he will pitch at the end of the game for us.
What do you look for in a closer? What are those capabilities, those qualities that really stand out that he exhibits?
Well, a closer, a lot of times when you're looking at someone who has the potential to close, you're looking for someone who has above average stuff, number one, and they have to be able to throw strikes. Oftentimes it's a young man who's a starter in high school who has solid average velocity and stuff, but throws a lot of strikes and is a winner, is a competitor, and has great makeup, great competitive makeup. That likes to pitch in high leverage situations. So we look for those characteristics in guys. And then when you take them sometimes and put them in the bullpen, like we did with Jeffrey after being a starter his whole career, all of a sudden 86 to 89, turns into 90 to 93, 94. And that's often what you see happen when you take a guy and stick him in the bullpen, is his stuff will play up. The velocity will creep up. The breaking ball will be harder just because he can put his foot on the gas pedal, so to speak, for 15 to 20 pitches versus pacing himself over the course of 5 to 6, 7 innings and throwing, somewhere between 80 and 100 pitches as a starter. Starting is more physically fatiguing than closing. Closing is more, I would say, mentally it's more fatiguing just because you're oftentimes coming in high leverage, high pressure situations, and you're amped up just because it's usually a close game when you're bringing in the closer. So a lot of it is their mental makeup. Jeffrey has the mental makeup to be a closer, and there's not many guys that have that mental makeup. He is one of those guys that I think he will always be very, very good out of the bullpen because of his mentality.
Hey, Monte, Josh from the Post and Courier. Just with Ty and Caden being freshmen, how exciting is that for you? And the program, just to be able to throw out those two guys on that opening weekend?
Well, it's really exciting for me as a head coach. I know that there's probably going to be, some stories written about it this week that, Clemson's starting 2 freshmen on the weekend. They're young. These guys don't have any experience, those kind of things. And quite honestly, I've been down this road before. In my days at College of Charleston, we started, Christian Powell and Jake Zocan and Matt Pegler and Bailey Ober, Tyler Thornton. I mean, we threw some guys as starters when they were freshmen, and they were very good. 2014, we played in a super regional and had 2 freshmen as weekend starters. So not scared of it whatsoever, to start a guy as a freshman. Davis Sharp started as a freshman. Keyshawn Askew started as a freshman in my time here at Clemson. So, I mean, we're not afraid to start a guy when they're a freshman. Heck, Davis started on Fridays when he was a freshman. I can remember us playing, I believe it was up at Boston College, and he was dominant as a starter on the road as a true freshman. So it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't worry me whatsoever to start a guy as a true freshman if they're ready for it. So it's exciting in that we think, and this is just me talking to you as a head coach, that our coaching staff, feels that highly, about these guys and their potential and their ability and what we think they bring to the table. So I'm excited to see these guys go out there and start this weekend and go compete against somebody else, because I've been watching them all fall and here in the early season, preseason, and they've looked very, very good.
Monte, this is Will. Wanted to ask, what have you seen with Davis that's he had a little bit of a slump last year. What did he do to get better and to where you feel confident that, he's your number 1 guy going into the season?
That's a great question. I think Davis understands that workload and work management is a big part of his success. Davis being a 2-way player, it's very, very difficult on a 2-way player, because on a typical day here, those guys are taking somewhere between, 75 and 100 swings. They're taking, sometimes between 50 and 100 ground balls. They're running the bases. They have to lift weights. It's a lot on them physically, and it's also a lot on them mentally. They get pulled in 2 different directions playing both. So workload management is a big deal. I think Davis is starting to understand that even more and more as he gets older, of how to manage his body physically and being able to pull the reins back. Davis did an amazing job at the end of the season through the shutdown, and when we came back in the fall, of working on his mobility. He's much more mobile, and we just feel like when Davis is at his best, we feel like he can beat anybody in the country, and we feel like he is the right guy to run out there in game 1. He's got excellent stuff. He's very deceptive. His fastball has a lot of movement. It cuts, it sinks. He's got one of the best sliders you'll see out of a right-handed pitcher, and he's got a good changeup. So everything that he throws moves, and he's a very confident young man, and you want a guy going out there in game 1 who's incredibly confident. And Davis has all those attributes and characteristics.
Coach, Caden Grice is another 2-way guy. How much of an advantage is it to have Davis already learn those lessons and be able to impart that wisdom about being a 2-way guy to Caden?
Well, Davis calls Caden Jr., so they do everything together because they both play first base. They're both starting pitchers. So Davis has done a really good job of taking Caden under his wing and working with him. They do all of their pitching stuff together. They go to the weight room together. They'll be on a little bit different plans this week because one's pitching on Friday, one's pitching on Sunday. One of the reasons why we're pitching Caden on Sunday is so that he can play first base when Davis pitches, and vice versa. We can play Davis when Caden pitches. So it just gives us more opportunities and flexibility with those 2 guys to use them both on the mound at first base, and even potentially in DH roles when they're not pitching. So So yeah, I mean, Davis has helped Caden tremendously.
Monte, was that something that you asked Davis to do, or did he kind of take that upon himself?
He did that completely on his own. I didn't ask him to do it. I think Davis is now, again, he's an older player in the program, and he's been around the block. He had to do it as a freshman, and he didn't have anybody helping him. He was trying to figure it out along with us. Managing a two-way player is very difficult. So it takes a lot of coordination between the offensive coach and the pitching coach on load management. How much work is he going to do with the position guys today? When is he throwing his bullpen? When is he going to pitch? All of those things are things that you have to take into consideration when dealing with a two-way player. So Davis really had to learn that by himself, along with us as coaches, trying to help him with that process. And our experience with having two-way guys, you don't have many of them, especially one that can pitch and hit at an elite level like Davis can. Caden and Davis are that rare breed that can do both and do both at a high level. So Davis had been around the block, had been through this before, and I think he just kind of took it upon himself to try to help Caden as a true freshman going through this process, for the first time.
Hey, Coach, it's David again. Seth Beer is that rare generational talent. He walked on campus and everybody knew he'd be a first-round talent. Is Caden in that stratosphere with Seth? Is he a step below? And is he a middle of the lineup bat right now? Where does he kind of compare ceiling-wise at the same point to Seth?
Ooh, I mean, they're different guys. I think they're very different players. And I'll try to explain the best that I can, David. As you guys all know, I try to be very, very blunt and honest with you and give you in-depth answers so that you know where I'm coming from and what I see.
Yes, thank you.
Seth was a corner outfielder with power and plate discipline, and good bat the ball skill for a guy that hit for power. He could hit for an average and he could hit for some power. He walked a lot, didn't strike out a ton. Just I always thought Seth was an incredibly disciplined hitter who happened to hit for some power. Caden as a hitter, Caden's a more athletic mover. Caden is incredibly athletic for someone his height. To be 6'6", 240 pounds, he moves very, very well. He is a plus defensive first baseman. He could play, if we had to put him in the outfield, I think he could play the outfield too, because he can run. So he's more athletic. He has more power. He has more power than anybody I've ever seen with my own two eyes. I've never coached a player in 21 years that hits baseballs as hard and as far as Caden Grice. So the power is unreal. But he is raw as a hitter. He's still developing as a hitter when it comes to bat the ball skill, hitting in situations, making adjustments with two strikes, trying to become a complete hitter. That's where Caden has work to do on the development side. And here's the deal. For him to develop, he has to play. That's the thing about playing and player development. You can have all the bells and whistles and coaching tasks and tactics that you want, philosophies that you want. The player's not going to get better if he doesn't play. Caden is one of those guys. The more he plays, the more he hits, the better he's going to get. But he's more raw when it comes to bat the ball skill, making adjustments with two strikes. But when he touches the baseball, he hits it out of sight. So he is a very dangerous hitter. On the mound, I think he has a chance, to be a top 3 round type talent by the time he leaves here. There's no reason why this guy shouldn't go within the first, 100 picks of the draft, 50 picks of the draft. I could see that. He has that kind of ability on the mound. He also has that kind of ability with the bat. So he has legitimate, top 2, top 3 round type talent, at both. Seth, when he came in, Seth's just one of the best pure hitters in the country. So they're a little bit different. But Caden has a chance to be special because he has special tools.
All right, with that, thank you, Coach. We'll have to wrap it up here. We'll have Elijah Henderson up momentarily.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, next up is Elijah Henderson. Please go ahead with questions.
Hey, Elijah, it's Trevor Gross from CUTargets.com. You had a great start to the 2020 season, about a 323, 456 on base percentage, second on the team in ribbies. How difficult was it for you to be that hot and have the season cut so abruptly? And were you able to improve your game over the offseason?
Yeah, of course. I tried to continue on that throughout quarantine. It's hard on everybody. It just didn't impact baseball players. It impacted the world. So, yeah, it kind of stunk. But, here we are today, a year later, get to compete. So I'm ready to continue that.
What did you work on the hardest during the offseason?
Probably being able to play multiple positions, elite. I worked on my backhand at second base, just trying to get better. Hand-eye coordination, stuff like that. Just simple things, just trying to get better day by day.
You played mostly in the outfield in your first 2 years. Do you expect to be playing more in the infield, kind of all over the place this season?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be all over the place. The roster's big. We got a lot of good players. So just depending on wherever coach needs me to play, that's where I'm going to play. You can see me in left, second, right, just depending on the day, really. So.
Hey Elijah, it's David Hood. Back when I played 150 years ago with Ty Cobb, we had guys we called dirt bags that they would do whatever it takes to win. They'd wind up dirty, after every game. They were the filthy guys, ballers. You seem to me to be that kind of a player. Is that kind of your attitude going into a game? You're going to do whatever it takes to win, and does that show the love of the game that you have?
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. I love to play the game. When I was 12 years old, one of my coaches actually called me Pigpen because I was always dirty. So that's something I pride myself on, just playing the game right, playing the game hard, doing whatever it takes for my team to win. So, yes, sir, that's something I value.
Do you embrace that, you can play multiple positions? If coach was to tell you to go play right, left, second, whatever, you feel like you can be that guy. Do you embrace that role?
Oh, absolutely. I've told coach that, I'll be anywhere you want me to be, whatever's best for the team. That's what I'm going to do. So, yes, sir, I do embrace that role, just being able to play left on a Friday, second on a Saturday, and then back and right on a Sunday. That doesn't affect me at all. I'm just going to go out there and compete as hard as I can.
Well, it's Trevor again. Coach Lee has been using all these hyperboles to describe the raw power that Caden Grice has at the plate. Have you guys been kind of in awe of what he's been able to do in his short time that you've seen him?
Oh, yes, sir. He's definitely got the most power I've seen out of anybody that I played with. And I played with some guys that have had some power. He's the type of guy that can clip a baseball and hit it 105 out of left field. So he's definitely got some power. He's got some things to work on, just like all of us. So he's definitely exciting to watch when he does hit the baseball, for sure.
Any other questions for Elijah? All right. Thank you, Elijah.
Thanks, Elijah.
Thank you.
Okay, last up today is Carter Raffield, right-hander. Please go ahead with questions.
Hey, Carter, it's Trevor Gross from CUTargets.com. What did you work on the hardest during the offseason, and did you add any pitches to your repertoire?
The biggest thing for me this offseason was to still stay in shape. That was my biggest thing coming off Tommy John, just to really focus on my mechanics and get back to playing ball like normal. So I would say just really focus on being athletic. Kept the same pitches from last year to this year, so hopefully, those will continue to work really well for me. And obviously just stay athletic on the mound and be the best pitcher I can be as of right now.
How difficult was it for you, 2 years ago to have the arm injury, to sit out the season, and then of course last year to have the season cut so short when you're finally looking good?
Yeah, it was tough. It was definitely not an easy thing for me, but it's baseball. You got to go with it, and things are going to happen. Not everything's going to work out your way. I think the biggest thing is just how I respond back and how anyone should respond back to any situation like that. That's just how you handle yourself on and off the field. Going off Tommy John my freshman year and not being able to play, it's a tough thing, but I'm a firm believer in God's plan, and I felt like God had a plan for me there just to focus more on myself, off the field than on the field. Then eventually I started working myself more on the field as well. And, going back, and I was very thankful to throw during the COVID year last year, and 4 games, I'm pretty sure, and did exceptionally well. And now I'm just looking to add on to that and, play this whole season and give it the best I can do.
You came out of the pen last season, Carter. Is that the role you expect to see? I know you competed for a starting spot the last few weeks. Do you hope to earn maybe a midweek starting spot, or do you see yourself coming out of the pen for the most part?
We just had that conversation yesterday with our pitching coach, Andrew C. They have me right now as the midweek starter right now. The first 2 weeks, we don't have a midweek game, so I will be coming out of the pen on the weekend. So that's the plan as of right now. Things could possibly change, but, we're going to go what we have right now and compete where we can compete.
Any other questions for Carter?
Carter's Trevor, I'll ask another one if I may. What have you seen from Caden on the mound so far in his few weeks that you've seen him?
I think Caden's a really good pitcher. He has a lot of upside to him. Something me and him talked about. It's just a lot of mechanics wise. He still has a lot of things he hasn't even tapped into yet. I think he's still in a learning stage and pitching right now. He's been throwing well for us this offseason, and coming back in the spring, still throwing well. Fills up his zone, has a lot of run on his ball, and we're all excited to see him throw. That's for everybody to throw. And like I said, we're just thankful to be back here and get some wins for this upcoming season for the Tigers.
Anything else?
Thanks a lot,
All right.
Carter. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carter.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Ron.